Today marks the Buddha's first turning of the Wheel of Dharma, one of the four main Buddhist holidays that we celebrate. And the wheel turning always occurs 49 days after Vesak, or what's called Sakadawa in Tibetan, the Buddha's attaining enlightenment. And so we can use this day to remind ourselves of how sacred, how precious, and how useful the Dharma is in our lives. Some 2,500 years ago, Shakyamuni Buddha was born in Lumbini, and then at the age of 35 or 36, pretty amazing, he attained enlightenment. And as a result of his awakening, he gave teachings which have become the most everlasting gift for our world. Something that can help us all eliminate every level of suffering. So let's rejoice in our connection with the Buddha Dharma, with our teachers, with the lineage masters, with the great masters and lamas of the past, all because the Buddha set the wheel of Dharma, one person making a huge change in the world. On this day, we can check up to see how much the wheel of Dharma is turning in us, how much it has transformed our mind, and how much has transformed our attitudes away from samsaric attitudes, materialism and self-centeredness, self-importance, me-first attitudes, things like that, and towards the path of Dharma, towards those things that really bring meaning to our lives, understanding impermanence and understanding the suffering nature of samsara, understanding our situation in samsara, that we are controlled by karma and afflictions, and understanding the potential of our love and our compassion, our cherishing of others. And also emptiness gets mixed in there too. So we can really check up to see how much have these Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, how much are they informing our lives? How much are they really informing every moment of our lives? Some of you have heard me tell this story. I met a woman from Bhutan once when I lived in Brisbane, and she said to me, I really try to live my life as, according to the Four Noble Truths. And I thought, oh yeah, I do that too. And then I had to check up and think, do I? Do I really? Like every moment? I mean, this woman was just radiating Dharma. She probably came from a very steeped Dharma family in Bhutan. So that has been a real touchstone for me to ask myself, just how much am I living according to the Four Noble Truths on a daily basis, on a moment-to-moment basis. So I thought to just mention some of the benefits of living together in community. I've been talking about this with some of the people at our dinner table. One of the things that happens in community is that we get to know each other very well, extremely well. Because we see each other all day long. We start with our morning practice, and then we see each other at meals, and we offer service together, we attend teachings together, and we do our practice at night together. We do a lot of things together, and so we know each other on a certain level. We see each other in good moods and bad moods. We see each other when we're behaving well and when we're not behaving as well as we aspire to. We see each other after someone has praised us, and also sometimes after someone has criticized us. Sometimes that's our teacher. We see each other when we're at our best, when we're healthy, when we're feeling good. We also see each other when we're injured or we have health problems, or just the daily aches and pains of aging. We see each other aging. That's kind of sobering, isn't it? And so we get to know each other very well. And so within community, our strengths and our weaknesses are clearly seen and witnessed by others. They're also held by others. They're supported by others, which helps us to grow. And living in community, we get a lot of feedback, either verbally. Sometimes people let us know when we've crossed the line with them, or just how a person is acting around us, just the vibe. Sometimes you just pick up the vibe, and that's the feedback that you get. And so we have an opportunity to learn the truth about ourselves as someone else sees it. And then we have an opportunity to check, well, is this true, what they're saying about me or seeing about me? Is it true? And if it's true, then there's an opportunity to do something about it. And if it's not true, then I can just acknowledge, well, this may be something coming from their side, and I don't need to do anything with it. I can just drop it. It's not mine to deal with. So over time, I think we learn to receive praise and criticism from others without as much pride, without as much defensiveness. I can see that in people, I can see it in myself. And the more quickly we can accept mistakes we've made, just accept them, just own them, and rectify them as soon as we can. It just makes life so much easier, doesn't it? Just to say, yep, I did that. I left the milk out all night. I'm sorry, I did that, or whatever it might be. So being seen like this, actually, I remember in the early years, I felt naked in the community. I wanted to run and hide, and there's no place to hide. That's the good news and the bad news. There's no place to hide. But over time, I think we become more familiar with that feeling of being seen and being held, and more comfortable with ourselves as we've dropped the false identities that we're trying to prop ourselves up with. So that's a real benefit of being seen. We become more honest with ourselves, with our strengths as well as our foibles. We don't need to keep up a pretense that we're someone we're not. And that is such a relief. It takes a lot of energy to hold up those pretenses. And so, in my own experience in observing this in myself and others, I think this is a very powerful way to break down self-grasping ignorance. You know, that we're letting go of those ways that we have strongly identified and held ourselves. And so that's a real benefit. Because living on our own, we can fool ourselves. And especially about practice, we can fool ourselves that we're farther along the path than we really are. But in a community, it's harder to do that. More importantly, in community, we learn to evaluate our own good qualities, as well as areas where we still need to grow and mature. We learn to evaluate ourselves instead of letting the world do that for us. That is such a skill to learn in community, because we're the ones who know our own motivations for what we're doing. Other people can guess at those motivations, but we're the one who really know what's motivating my actions throughout the day. So one way we use community life as practice is by developing greater transparency and the ability to acknowledge our faults to ourselves as well as to others. And when we can do that, something inside of us really relaxes. You know, we can drop a lot of that perfectionistic tendencies that we have. So we stop pretending to have good qualities we don't, trying to look like a perfect nun or a perfect monk, a perfect anagarika, a perfect trainee. We stop deceiving ourselves by trying to hide our faults. That's pretension and deceit, those two mental factors we need to work on constantly, especially as monastics. And when we're doing this, we stop feeling the obsessive faults that we're not okay. We are all okay. That's the wrong question. Am I okay? That's the wrong question, as our friend Russell Colts asked us one day when he was here. That's the wrong question to be asking yourself. Of course you're okay. You have Buddha nature. We have Buddha nature. So we need to ask different questions. And we just admit to ourselves we have a lot of places where we still need to grow, and begin to value this container as we'd call it, a rock tumbler, because it does chip off the hard edges and the rough spots, and really does start to bring out more of the beautiful qualities that each one of us have. And one benefit that comes from being more transparent and honest is that it creates a kind of closeness with each other. Even with people we may not feel that drawn to or that attracted to spend time with, there is a sense of closeness because we know them well. We share space, we share values, we share practice together. So there's that kind of closeness and care. But inevitably, even in a harmonious community, there will be people we struggle to get along with well, I think, at least for me, maybe some of you too. Either they remind us of someone we have history with, or they push our buttons, or we push their buttons, or maybe it's just some karma from the past that we can't recollect. We don't know what it is, but there's just some tension there. And so one of the most useful benefits I found from studying Lama Zopa Rinpoche's book in the early months of 2024, his book is called Transforming Problems. One of the most useful benefits I found was this concept of developing a different attitude towards problems or problematic situations. Rinpoche is known for this phrase: the thought of liking problems should arise naturally, like the thought of liking ice cream. Now, this book came out in 2001, and every time I read that phrase, I would just go, yeah, right. Liking problems. But in this last round of going through those teachings, something shifted in my mind. It began to shift, let's put it that way. And so, although I can't say that I've achieved the level of mind training practice where I like problems as much as I like ice cream. I do like ice cream. But because I can still react when I'm on the receiving end of someone's anger or perceived disrespect. But I'm happy to notice that there's a beginning habit that's forming in my mind that's new, recognizing problems as beneficial conditions that actually support my Dharma practice. After a few moments of discomfort with a certain situation or a certain person, I notice more often that the thoughts arising, wait a minute, this is beneficial. I need this. This is actually necessary for my practice. And as soon as those thoughts start to arise, what follows is some recognition that this is just karma arising. This is causality. This is causes and conditions coming together to bring about certain feelings in me and perhaps the other person. So this person in front of me is actually helping me develop, giving me an opportunity to develop patience, fortitude, loving kindness, compassion, and other positive qualities. And so as that attention begins to shift, as Venerable Jigme mentioned yesterday, there's a shift from the external, it's this person, it's all coming from them, to the internal, wait a minute, I can work on this inside myself. That is such a powerful shift, such a life-changing shift. And as that happens, then there's more ease in the mind and the body. And this one small shift has been a real game changer for me, and it's something that I want to just continue to foster. So as Rinpoche reminds us, he said, mind training doesn't mean that we will no longer receive harm from other people or circumstances or birth, aging, sickness, and death. It doesn't mean that. Instead, we will simply not be as disturbed about those little problems or big problems as they arise. So that's a real benefit. And then we can put more of that energy into our practice. So instead of something small turning into something big, it can just stay small. In fact, we can just learn to let those things go. So no matter what happens, there's really no point in disliking it. It doesn't add anything. It just adds the second arrow to the first. It doesn't add any benefit. And instead of hindering us, our problems can become good and useful, part of our practice. So we can train ourselves to immediately think this is a favorable, beneficial condition. It can come more and more. Our mind is like a muscle, and the more we exercise it, the more it moves in that direction. So small transformations like this are possible because Shakyamuni Buddha turned the wheel of Dharma, something like 2,557 years, somewhere in that ballpark, years ago. How amazing, how precious. And how amazing and precious that we have come in contact with these teachings, that they are still authentic teachings existing in this world today, and that we can put them into practice and use them to contribute whatever we can to this ailing samsaric world. And so we can take today as an opportunity just to check up to see how is the Dharma turning in each of our lives. How much are the Four Noble Truths turning in our lives? How much do they inform our actions, our thoughts, and our interactions with each other? And we can spend today cultivating an immense heart of gratitude for this everlasting gift.